You want to know like a great thing about Austin, Craig? It is so weird. Yesterday, I walked to the gym. It's about like a 2-mile walk down South Congress. If I can geolocate myself for everybody. And I passed 3 separate street magicians. 3 separate dudes that are like, beautiful tourist heavy day on a Saturday afternoon. Let's go set up a folding table and do card tricks. 3 separate dudes like that. And so then I was like, oh, this is hilarious. I have to tweet this, that I saw 3 separate. So I'm writing the tweet about the 3 street musicians I saw, and I almost tripped over a 10-foot snake that was lying in the middle of the sidewalk. These guys had like, the snakes that they're like getting to. But like, what about Austin makes people want to like pay someone abusing an animal for a photo? But whatever. Keep Austin weird.
I despise snakes. It's like the one thing in the world that I just don't mess with.
I don't like any of the scary things except for spiders. Spiders are our friends. If there's like a spider living in my shower for a little while, I just let her do her thing. And I may have conversations with her. Like, I read Charlotte's Web as a little girl.
Yeah, me too, as a boy.
These are sad confessions. The last ones I've gone with have been happy. I'm
surprised though that
sad.
3, especially in like SoCo, that's not particularly the area. I mean, I could see it downtown, but
I mean, it was South by Southwest. All the weirdos came out. But anyway, welcome to the Texas Poker Experience, where we celebrate all things Austin, weird, and poker. Today, you are joined by your hosts, Caitlin Komeski and Craig Sear, and we also have a very special guest, the White Knight of Texas Poker, my good friend, Sam Von Kennel. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Be here, maybe once self-proclaimed White Knight, but okay.
Were you the one that nicknamed yourself that?
I got asked if I saw myself like that, and sure, I was, back in the time, I was like, sure, I'll accept that.
You're like, maybe I embroidered it on a jacket, but I mean, like, I liked it. It had a ring to it.
Whatever you wanted to call me and still come patronize my business, that's fine. You can call me whatever you wanted.
yeah, I mean, if you're going to blaze a trail, you got to get a nickname.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
For those of y'all that don't know, Sam Von Kennel had a background in lobbying. His dad was the lobbyist, and he exploited those powers to bring legal poker to Texas. He is the first one to do it. He opened the original Texas Card House location down on Manchac. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey, Sam?
Yeah, it's 7, almost 8 years, closer to 10 if you count all the, the pre-work before opening up the first club. But yeah, definitely not the only one that could run a poker club. I mean, we've seen people doing it much bigger and better than me. But at the time, I don't think anybody was better positioned to do it than me, being that I had the ties to the Texas state legislature and had worked for the committee that handled all things gaming. I mean, from full-scale game casino operations that came through. We got to learn pretty much the ins and outs of what you can and can't do. And so, yeah, I was able to, you can say exploit that or invent that, but no, I didn't do anything besides, look at the law and say, okay, what can we exactly do? And yeah, I was the first one to take the chance on it. A lot of people just assumed that it can't be done, and so we took a risk that I don't think any other someone else could have done it and probably would have tried, but we definitely had the right pieces in place and the people behind us to confidently go and do it and then expand on it.
Make sure you're getting right up on your mic. Get up on your mic like she's a beautiful Latina, Sam.
Very well. Very well.
So I have a funny story. It was probably about 10 years ago. I dealt this private game at a golf club, and I had a friend, was hanging out with the friend, and he played sometimes in the poker game, and he asked me, he said, this is probably pretty lucrative for you, right? Because there's no rake. It's like just a private game, and, they tip you, and they tip you pretty generously because there's no rake. And I said, yeah, it's been really good for me. I said, hey, what do you think if someone opened like a club? I mean, forget the golf course. There's a lot of overhead with a golf course and country club and restaurant and all that stuff. I said, forget that. What if someone just had like a private club and people played poker and there's no rake, so it's legal, and you just find some other way to charge them? And he looked at me dead in the eyes and goes, Craig, that'll never fucking work. Just don't do it. You're an idiot. And I was like, good point.
Fair.
The country clubs really, really helped me with the argument. We would go to people and, they'd be decision makers, whether state legislatures or district attorneys or, somewhere along the line, sheriff's department, police department, what have you. And that would be one of the first things we would lead off with. Like, are you a member of a country club? And they say, well, yeah, Barton Creek Country Club, love it. Onion Creek Country Club. And, I've been to these. I'm also members of some of them. And they all have a poker table in the back, Onion Creek Country Club, for example. That's where I'm born and raised. In the men's locker room, there's a bar, there's a lounge, and there's a poker table. Absolutely, men were playing for money, real poker, real money. And so when I'd lead out and say, well, are you a member of a country club? And they'd say, well, does it have a poker room? They'd say, yeah, there's a poker game there. We play a little poker. And I was like, well, who cares about the tennis or golf or pool or all the other things? Like, if they're allowed to have one table, what if they had 20 tables? What if, it's not the number of tables that changes the law. And they're like, okay, I see what you're saying. Like, I get it. Said, so, say I have 100 tables. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, one table's legal, then 10 tables are legal. As long as it's in a private club and the club's not raking money from the pot and the club's not offering house advantage games like blackjack or roulette, it was legal. Most likely that decision maker who says, no, it's absolutely illegal, you can't do it, has played in that game in the country club. And so you kind of had to just put it in perspective with them. You just had to see, like, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make a country club. No, I don't have 9 holes of golf or a pool or a tennis court, but it's still going to be that upscale feeling. It's just going to be 20 poker tables instead.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, did you have pool or a place to play backgammon or chess, or was it truly just poker?
In the beginning, we wanted that, but the space that we found wasn't big enough to have anything but, we squeezed 6 tables and ultimately ended up really squeezing 7 tables in there. And so, no, it didn't have that. Now we, advertised and our website said, yeah, there's chess tables and backgammon and yeah, it's a card club if you want to host your bridge night or whatever. Like, no, it's a card and social club. But yeah, 99% of everything was poker. And that was fine. I knew that it wasn't a problem, but it was just about, the perception. And so yeah, we, if there's a group of ladies that played, and again, I'm born and raised in Onion Creek. There's a group of ladies that would have a bridge club. It's like, if they wanted to come over here and have it here, we'd host it for them, give them the amenities, let them do it. That's fine. Like, it truly was meant to be social club. And yeah, pool tables, ping pong tables, all that were thought, just the first model. The space that, I finally got didn't have room for any of that. But yeah, ultimately, you see clubs now, they took it and ran with it. Add bars, add lounges, add pool tables, all that stuff.
So once you were able to grease the wheel legislatively and legally, how did you get over the hurdle of being the very first one, letting people know you were there? Did you get any press, or like what helped you get on the map?
Yeah, KXAN report, local news was what really set us over the hump. Month 1 and 2, people weren't really coming. It was about 8, 9, almost 10 weeks into it that we finally got a news report, and the next day we were packed. I'm calling everyone I know that could help me deal, like, come work. Like, for a change, we weren't just running one table of my friends and parents and whoever, employees' parents coming to help get things going. We finally ran a game, and after that there was no turning back. And again, at that time, we were not charging by the hour. You were once a month or once a week or a day pass, kind of all you can play style. And so it took that news report for people to say, okay, it must be legit, like it was on the news and they're not rated, so it must be legit. And then the value that they realized that they got was insane. I mean, we were open for 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and at that point we finally extended to 7 days a week too. So I mean, you can get almost 100 hours of poker a week for I think our day pass was $30 a day, and you could play for 10 hours. So I mean, $3 an hour.
Wow.
What now people are paying 16, maybe even upwards of more than $16 an hour. But yeah, they didn't realize how good of a value that was, and we knew our plan was always to go to an hourly. We knew about it. We had fact checked it. We recognized that it probably wasn't best to introduce things that way, like kind of build a base, build a structure. Like the original model that I had could never actually be profitable. It was sustainable. It paid the staff, it paid the rent, but it was never going to pay me. It was never going to pay Dylan, my original partner. And so we knew the hourly, it was just a matter of like, when do we do it? It was definitely scary, but I had, met with attorneys, met with, legislators, met with everything. The people that could come and, essentially, I don't know if I can cuss here, fuck with us.
Yeah, I cuss regularly.
Yeah,
Craig
it's
pretends
encouraged.
to, but I actually do.
Yeah,
Encouraged.
our location is outside the city limits and what was called the extended jurisdiction of Travis County. And so we were on the fringe between Travis and Hayes County. And so we kind of looked at, okay, the only people that really have jurisdiction over us are Travis County Commissioners, Travis County Sheriff's Department. We don't have to worry about APD or any City of Austin Council or anything in Austin. So we went to who could, like I said, fuck with us, and we ran it by them. We did just that. Like I said, talked to them. Were they in a country club? Had they heard about us? Do they know at this point, they have heard about us. They might have, driven by or come, I encouraged them to come see it. But it's still, when we switched to the hourly, we knew it was just like, okay, this is big. This is as far as you can push the envelope. And, we had to switch it. Like we knew it. We weren't, we had a model, we had a base, we had loyal customers, but I didn't have any money. Like, it doesn't work yet. So that's when we switched, and we always knew we were going to do it. It was just a matter of when. And when we switched on the hourly, the club finally profited like a true poker model should. The more they play, the more you make. And again, that was something I was so scared of preaching because, people's perception of what the law is. Like, no, you can't gamble. It's like, is it gambling? Yes, they're gambling, but like you can do it. You can profit this way. Just I can't take their chips off the table. Like I can charge them to rent a seat, is what we called it. And then later, I had some decision makers tell me like, look, we know it's all semantics. We know your argument. When if we take you in, we know what your argument's going to be. But let's not call it renting a seat. And so then we said, okay, you're a membership, just like you're a membership. At a country club, you have golf fees and green fees and pool fees and all that shit. It was like, okay, we can have fees too. And so you literally are renting, the club's time, your access fee. And so when we called it access fee, the money we were making finally legitimized the business. I think that's when you really saw the boom. Tons of clubs opened it up at that point because they saw, okay, not only the first several months of doing it just as our membership model, it was like, okay, is this really legal? It's like, yes, news reports, the works. We had, we were legitimate. We're paying our taxes. We lasted, 6, 7, 8 months, and then it was, are you profitable? And then for a while, yeah, we had the entire state to ourselves, so we were super profitable. But that's when you really saw these clubs popping open left and right. And of course, like we said, people were playing for $3 an hour back then. Now they're paying, $12 an hour, $10, $16 an hour, and paying out, outrageous fees. What they would have screamed and cried at me back in the day is just like, no, this is,
standard.
Finally got them to standard poker, pricing.
I think it's so interesting that like a positive news story was sort of the first thing that puts you on the map. When nowadays I feel like poker can't get into local or mainstream media without there being some sort of negative spin. Like the clubs getting shut down, they're nefarious dealings, they're like laundering happening. That's the only time really like where the news media wants to pick it up and run with it in any way. Was it a very like positive, uplifting story at the time? Like, isn't this great new exciting industry coming to our state?
Yeah, it was interesting. Like I think, they were prepared to come back in 2 days later saying, raids at Texas Card House, like like everyone was. But yeah, they took it for what it was. They actually, gave the real story. We broke down the law. We had some, cuts to attorneys that were citing, cuts to, being in the legislature, actually because we ran a bill on this. We ran, through the idea was vetted by, the Texas state legislature. And so, at that point, it was a good story. It was, the little area, what it's called now, little Manchac, Texas. They put us in their little local gazette, and we were a booming business for Manchac at the time, which was cool. And so, yeah, I don't think it could have really been done like that time, that location, specifically where it was on, the governing authorities around it. That was probably the only way this was going to get off the ground. Now, yeah, unfortunately now media covers more bad stories and that catches the news. But yeah, I think for a change then, everybody's idea of poker was just kind of like this underground, seedy, like it can't be like, where y'all playing at these places? And so, yeah, the story of a refreshing attempt at bringing it out, like that's kind of how they pitched it. And that's huge. Like we needed the integrity of that specific club to be exactly what it was. I mean, guys were having a good time. They were taking a chance in, me basically. And, fortunately we delivered. We didn't have problems of like cheating or theft and, little stuff that did. I immediately would talk to the players and get to know them and let them decide on how, they were going to, and so we kept the integrity of that club so perfect that, I think, finally, people started seeing it and adopting, like, okay, Texas Card House is legit, it's real, and that's how you see it. I mean, I think we paved the way for all these other clubs to come in. There's no doubt about it.
How soon after you established the access fee and you started to really profit were you able to expand into the north location that we now know as Texas Card House?
Still really, really hard. Because at that point, we wanted to press the envelope, and I partnered up with a couple people who I met. They were members first at the club. And I tried for a year at commercial properties. And these two people, I'll keep them nameless, but absolutely very well established, serious financials behind them. And we went to commercial properties, and they still, this is Austin. We're looking at a spot, and it's just like, okay, why would I go with a poker club when I'm also have an application from like literally like a Best Buy? And it's just like, okay, I get it. You're going to go with corporate Best Buy. They pay their lease up front, no problem. And so it was such a struggle. And it wasn't till a year had passed. We're still down in Manchac. Things are great. Like, I'm making money. I was, very, very happy. But still, like, it was time. Like, let's expand. And I'm at Texas Poker Supply getting, new cards, new, buttons and tools and things. And that's when they said, hey, look, a new club just came to town called Austin Card Room LLC. They have this huge spot. They're talking about a, 15 table order, but they were also asking us, Texas Poker Supply, like, about like employees and like who, how do we staff it? How, we don't really know poker. And so they're like, why don't you give them a call? So they give, I reach out to them, send them an, just kind of cold call, like, hey, here's who I am. I heard about you. Like, and, they were stoked. They were just like, yeah, we have this spot. And I was just like, I've been looking for a spot. And I was like, I have the name. And so that's when we partnered up and got that 183 spot. I had to talk to the people who were members, who I was trying to do it with. I said, look, guys, I'm really sorry. We looked, we tried, we couldn't find a spot. Here's this group that's coming to Austin. That's, I'm thinking they might put me out of business. Like, I'm in a little metal sided building with 5 tables, and here they are. I saw that space. It's huge. It's the first big one to come to Austin. So I said, look, I have an opportunity to go with them. And so I did. And, good decision, bad decision. Like, I don't regret it. Like, I might, who knows? I see how I would have done it different if I had the opportunity to run it again, but ended up being a pretty good decision for me because the group that I partnered up with then, they were Austin Card Room LLC. I gave them the name Texas Card House in exchange, and we opened up, Houston, Rio Grande Valley.
That is a great name. How'd you land on the name of Texas Card House? That is money.
Through my favorite, one of my favorite things to do, I'm sitting at my friend's house who, business partner and his fiance at the time. And we're just sitting out on his porch smoking, like kind of spitballing. We're throwing names out left and right, like Lone Star Poker Club, or how about, Austin Poker Club. And I'm like, no, I don't want to use the word poker. Too many red flags, too many, so I'm like, let's not use, can't use the word poker, can't use the word casino, can't use the word rake, like just have to immediately X that out. And I think my first choice was like Lone Star Poker Club or Lone Star Card Club or something like that. And it was Dylan, one of my best friends and business partner, his fiance, I think that actually came up with Texas Card House. But I remember not liking it because it sounds like Texas Roadhouse. And so I remember not liking it that much.
That's why it's good. Yes, Queen.
But yeah, she drew up, the original Texas Card House logo, which was a fucking, barn with the barn door was like a king, and the other barn door was a queen, and, Texas flag. Like, that was our original, like, that was the shit right there. But, it's super, super cool. But yeah, that's how we came up with the name. Just literally spitballing, hanging out with, friends and family, and just kind of fucking around. And then it hit, and it was like, all right, that's the one. Let's do it.
But that's not where the journey stops, right? You're not still on the ownership team of Texas Card House. What happened next?
No, hit the 5-year mark. Almost left for a venture in Houston at year 3.5, 4. But that was when some of the Houston clubs got raided, and the group that I was going to leave, and I met with my partners and told them, I said, hey, look, I'm out. I got a deal that I can't pass up. No harm, no foul. I'll give you all my equity. Don't even buy me out. Like, I'm leaving. Got a great deal. And then the raids happened in Houston. Fortunately, I hadn't, nothing, happened yet. So I kind of went back to Card House and was like, well, egg on my face, guys. Like,
sorry.
Here I am still. I was like, glad we didn't tell anybody. It was cool. We kept it kind of under the wraps. Like, definitely, you could tell though there was a little bit of salt with the owners. Just like, we're the only ones that knew that I almost left, and I stuck around for like 2 more years. And then I left. Like, I had, already made a decision. Like, I was kind of done. Like, I wanted to go try it again. And same thing opportunity came up. At this point, you can see my track record shows, like, if opportunity comes, I'm going for it. It's fine. It is, no
Sammy
harm, no
takes
foul.
shots.
Yeah. And so, but this time the venture wasn't in Houston. It was 4.4 miles down the road from our home base. And yeah, that one, there was already a little salt, like I said, in the relationship, but that one, didn't end that great. It was a group of people that came in wanting to invest in Card House and potentially buy, the locations and, buy into the future and expansion. And they ended up, just buying me and taking me. I was just like, all right, no, what Card House? They actually just wanted me, and so I was like, let's go. I'll leave Card House and let's go. And so
nice to feel wanted. Did you feel so special?
Hey, my stock is high at this point. Okay, like, I mean,
I am the white knight.
Yeah, when I sold that Texas Card House company, like I said, I'll never regret it for a second. And we sold it for more than I think it's worth even to the day right now. But
boom,
we had the entire state to ourselves. It wasn't me. Like, clearly, we're gonna keep telling this story. And we're gonna find out it wasn't fucking me. Like, when you're the only poker room in the entire state, it's hard to lose.
I still think you need to dunk on, like, you can still own the fact that, like, you were there first, you made it possible, nobody comes after you.
I have that, but I definitely
You didn't let one of your friends tell you it was a bad idea and just drop it,
Yeah.
We can't come up with a good name. We can't. Well, let's just drop it. Lone Star Poker Club. No.
No. So yeah, as we learned, it clearly wasn't me. But I leave Card House and we start another one, and 4 miles down the road from what
name
kind
her,
of
Sam.
yeah kind of
name her.
Yeah. So we open up Palm Social Club, and it was a flop. Big time flop. I'll be the first to admit it.
Oh, but we had so much fun trying.
It was a blast. There's a ton of excuses. Everyone's just like, oh, no, you tried to open a business during COVID. And it's like, yeah, thanks, appreciate it. It's like, oh, no, you tried to, the business that sold to you, they really kind of screwed you on some of the deals. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's fine. Like, I had it for 2 years. I couldn't fill it up with any players. So, I'll call it. It is what it is. We learned a lot. We had a lot of fun, but found out that.
I don't know that we that it proved that, like, you yourself failed in that venture. I think what Palms proved was that an 8-table card room you can't fulfill the model through. Like, you need the tournaments and the 1-2 players. It's a volume business.
Yeah, we took a chance. I didn't want to open up another Texas Card House. I didn't want to just, I wasn't going to just copy and paste, new name and start over. Like, I thought there was a different model. Like, I thought there was a higher end model. At this point, I'm as rich as I've ever been. I'm playing in bigger games that I shouldn't be playing in. And it's not that I shit on the 1-2 or 1-3 players. It was just that I thought we could go build a club that was, okay, Card House and Lodge have the 1-2 and the 1-3 and the free rolls and the casual recreational players. That's great. I thought we could go build something that was different. It's only going to have 8 tables. I only needed 2.5 tables a day to make that thing break even. So I thought okay, we'll kind of just brand ourselves as that higher end 5 plus type atmosphere. And we did it for a while, but we found that wasn't enough. The people that played there loved Palms. No doubt about
Palms
it.
was a gorgeous room. It had the best amenities. It had the best service. And no one, I think, in good conscience can deny that. It's just there are only so many people in town that are going to want to play that big.
Yeah, and that was exactly what we learned. And at that point, it was too late to pivot. Sure, you can take all the other excuses. The former business that was there, COVID, whatever you want to blame, you can blame. But yeah, it was too late to pivot. We had already, branded ourselves, kind of, not saying, fuck off if you can't afford it, go away. You could come play. Anybody could come play, but we were playing a bigger game. And it turns out there's not enough people in Austin. There's definitely players. Like we got 2 or 3 tables, 5 tables, 2 or 3 times a week, but the other times, the other 5 days a week where we were only getting 1 table, and it's just like, oh fuck, we're struggling. Did not work. And then you're looking up, and I'm getting really salty at this point because I'm looking at TCH and they're still having their 6 fucking tables every day. And I'm like, damn. And so yeah, it was, like I said, it was definitely it was a good shot. Best looking room in town, no doubt about it. Like there's no arguing that. But you have to, if you're gonna run a social club, you have to cater towards your bread and butter, and that's 1, 2, and 1, 3 players. At the end of the day, their $10 an hour is just as much worth your time as the guys who are playing for $1,000 buy-ins. They're just paying $10 an hour too, or they have more money, so they're buying in bulk. Like now they're it takes more to take care of them and offer good service to them, and they're paying for less. And it's like, oh shit, like this is
whoops.
Yeah, not a good combo. So.
Yeah, it's really weird. The card club model just kind of made everybody equal. Like you said, the 1-2 player is just as valued from a business owner standpoint as the guy that's going to play 5-5 or 5-10 or whatever, and that's kind of interesting. I think it's great for the small players, but you do get, as there's a market for the people that want to be in a room, probably with the only poker table in it, and be playing a big game. And if someone came in and wanted to buy in for like $500, be like, dude, fuck off, get out of here, like. Yeah. That's not going to get you anywhere. That doesn't meet the min buy.
The players changed too from back at like day one to now. It was so much more friendly and recreational. There were some pros, but there were no pros. Like we're all playing and having fun, and like our room kind of got real quick. Like day one, we filled every table, every seat in the house, and I was fucking excited. I'm talking about Palms. But you look across the room and it was a goddamn bloodbath. Like literally, there may be, 40 or 50 legit pros in this town. Well, fucking all 50 of them were in the room. And so it's just like, oh boy, like, the players, well, back in the day, it was just like, let's all have fun. Let's hang out. Let's play some 1-2. It was not looked at as like, this is my job, my livelihood. Like, I mean, this is your job. Like, this is how you make your money. And so you're going to work. And back then it was just like, no, this is a Thursday night out. I just got off of work. Like, let's leave that shit at the door. Let's go and have some fun. It's like, yeah, just completely different. Like, I don't think the social aspect of the Palms, although the players that were there had a blast, but it just was not very inviting to the average person to come sit at a table with you. It's like, well, cool. Yeah, she's really nice. She might have offered me a shot, but I also lost, all my money. Like, so it was not very inviting to the average player, and so it's just not sustainable.
No, I honestly, I don't regret my involvement with Palms at all. I learned so much. So for those of y'all that don't know, I was quite heavily involved at Palms. I ran their social media. I was organizing games. I was propping games, and I learned so much about what it takes to organize poker games, and I learned that I never want to do it again.
It's it's a full-time gig, and these players,
because it's not just like texting people, and like you have to go out and recruit and meet new faces, and then you're making enemies across town, because in order to recruit you have to go into other clubs. Like we were joking with Skull Mike about why I'm not on a poster at the lodge. It's probably because I was actively trying to bring his players to my game at Palms.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, even that too, like the evolution of that, like I think now it's calmed down a little. Like you were actively recruiting players to Palm, so I get it. They were just like, okay, we can't fully adopt Caitlin here yet. But like there was a time where like you couldn't be a regular Joe wearing a Texas Card House shirt in the lodge without them being like, take that shit off. And it's like, the fuck? Like
they got in a little band happy too.
Yeah,
Lodge is drunk with power.
Yeah, it's like what happened? Like this used to be fun. Now it's like fucking professional and serious and angry. Like someone asked me the other day about and don't get me wrong, the poker players that I've met, some of them are literally genuinely some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. But there's also some that are just God bless their hearts. Like like I said, it used to be fun and friendly. Now it's just like you set out a bowl of candy in the lobby one day, and it's like, the next day it's empty. They're like, "Where's the fucking candy?" Man? It's like, Jesus Christ,
not good enough for lifesavers.
Yeah, like come on.
I bet the lodge has lifesavers.
Exactly.
Oh no, that became a huge thing when anytime anything went wrong at the Palms, especially in the high stakes games. Friggin' Bones would just be like, "I bet the lodge would have candy." I bet they would be prepared.
I heard a different card club owner say that exact thing about the bowl of candy. It's just unbelievable how it's like one day it's a gift, the next day it is an entitlement. It is expected the next day. Where the fuck are the lifesavers?
And we were talking in the previous episode with Carolyn about like being a poker diva and having like outbursts. I've kind of, even since we recorded that episode like half an hour ago, my opinion has evolved in that we're all divas because poker is freaking stressful. My God. And especially if you're a high stakes player and you're used to being kowtowed to, I think you can get yourself a little up Schitt's Creek thinking that you're somebody.
How funny would it be if there was a bowl of lifesavers? Be like, no, you're at the 1-2 game. You don't get the
No,
these are for 5-5 players.
Yeah, 5-5 and up. Get the lifesavers. Fuck off.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be hilarious. Be like, you're going to need to pull some more money out of your pocket and move to table 7 if you want a lifesaver.
Yeah, I think that's just probably why I had it super lucky. Like, again, when I had the entire city had the entire state to myself for the first year, and then the city to myself for another, almost a year and a half after that. They didn't have a choice. Like, you gonna bitch at me about lifesavers, bro? Like, I got the only table in town.
You wanna go play in Nana's basement? I don't think so.
It's like I could do no wrong at this point. Like, and so of course my ego is huge. But then when all that, just little things when it turned really serious and became a business, like the players were here professionally, other clubs are flying in. Guys like Joe at the lodge, guys professional out the ass. His resume is outstanding. Like, if I could have had a Joe back in my day, it might not have worked though, because the people didn't want real professional serious
at the time.
they didn't want don't give me your Vegas rules and Law and Order.
It's a private game. We can sleep here. Sleepers on. Sleepers are allowed. And the dealer will try to hold the standard and be like, no, we have to call the floor, and they're like, we said it's okay.
All right, I guess it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, now there's so many serious talented people in the industry. It's like, I can't even keep up. It's past me. I'm not even a poker player. I like to pretend I was a lobbyist. This, I don't know poker.
Okay, but you are a first place finisher of one of the finest South Dakota tournaments.
Yeah. Hey, it's a main event too. So
we've heard. Yeah. This is
check
not
it
a
out.
quiet
He
story.
has a Hendon mob. Trolls.
Yeah. It's surprisingly 6 figures for no reason. For no reason. But don't look at any recent dates. There haven't been anything there. We got to scroll way back.
And Mom doesn't put the losses on there. They don't put the busted bullets on there. That'd be really interesting if they did. Boy, that would be cool.
You have your main line in winnings, and then it's your buy-in number right beneath in red.
Well, some of these high roller players, it'd be fascinating. It's got 12 million in live cashes, but they're losing.
Yeah, that's a net loss for overall.
Yeah. Luckily, the GG Poker sponsorship is covering some of that.
Yeah, that was a funny one too. I make a run and one time. Everybody gets a run at one time if you play enough. But and then people are like, "Oh wow, he actually knows how to play too." It's like, no, you guys. There's no reason I'm getting this credit. I'm so fucking lucky owning this business that nobody else can do. And then I fucking final table a tournament. And there's wow, he's so good.
King of poker.
No,
the Solve for Why guys were talking about that and ribbing on each other. They were talking about certain players that have had a lot of run good lately in MTTs, and Landon was like, well, yeah, but he just got aces a lot. And it's that's true. If you get aces a lot in a poker tournament, you are the favorite.
I mean,
I tell you from experience.
I can't lie. One of my best friends was there the whole time, watching me in awe. Every pocket pair flopped a set. Every flush draw turned the flush for 4 straight fucking days. It's just well, yeah, sure. I'm a great poker player, guys. Yeah, I'm really, really good.
I recently played a session with Caitlin, and I ran like that for a couple of hours, not for a multi-day, multi-table tournament, but for a couple hours, just ran like God. And I was talking about it on the last
Not versus
episode.
me. I would never pay Craig.
And oh my gosh, Caitlin just would not leave me alone about it. She's like, you are such an, oh my God, you flopped another set? Oh, you have the, oh, of course you have the nuts. Of course you do. Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you got them again. Like, yeah.
You make me sound delightful.
Well, not to me. Not to me. You
Yeah,
reserve,
we actively hate each other. I don't know why we keep doing this.
yeah, you reserve it for your real friends.
Yeah, poker players are always so resentful when non-poker players hit a little run good. Just
Which is so good for the game, but they hate it.
Yeah. They're like fuming. Yeah, they're like, they're just like, oh, motherfucker. I never get it. My flush draws never hit. And I was just like, yeah, but you're actually good at poker. Like,
Yeah. You know how to win the pot when you miss.
You'll figure it out. Like,
One of my favorite memories of you kowtowing to an action player was he asked you to take him to the bank and you're like, oh yeah, no problem. I can take you to the bank. Like, it's like a no-brainer. And then he made you drive him up to like Pflugerville.
yeah, fuck. I mean, where we're at, it's like, what is this? A Wells Fargo, Bank of America, everything's right there. There's a mile. He's like,
I'm like texting you like, Sam, where the hell are you? Like, apparently I have to make a little day trip to Germantown.
South Star Bank customer, or what? Where the hell did we
literally
have to
like local branch in like Georgetown. We had to go to, but I mean, y'all act like you didn't want me to take him.
No, like bring daddy back as fast as possible, please, Sammy.
Oh, I saw a player that will remain nameless right now leave the room. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. They left the room. They went out to their car. This gentleman is older, and he came back in like holding a 10K band in his hand. And I was like, no. Do not be doing that, please. Like, I would drive that dude to Georgetown. I mean, that's just so bad. You can barely walk, and you're just carrying $10,000 in cash at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Why do you hate old people?
It's just, no, this is love for old people right here. I'm like, hey, next time ask me, I'll go out there with you. Like, or bring the security guard with you or something. Like, you should not just be walking back.
Let a man handle himself. I don't know why you have to emasculate everyone.
I will say, this particular player, if anybody brought harm to that guy, we speculated at the table how long they would live. And the consensus was less than a week. Poker community would come after him for sure.
I don't know why you're trying to implicate yourself in a crime right now, but good luck with that.
Vigilante justice. That's not a crime. It's justice.
Or is it time for? Should we talk? Do we have a sponsor?
We do have a sponsor.
Who's our sponsor? Will you tell
Double
me about
Down Casino Events. Bring the party to you. You can you don't have to play poker on your coffee table or your dining room table or your countertop. I don't care how nice your island is. There's no padding and it sucks for poker. Some people still like speed felt. I even have a major grudge against speed felt. Get a nice quality felt like this. And if you don't want to buy, you can rent from Double Down Casino Events. They'll bring a dealer. They'll bring a table, bring the chips, everything you need. You just got to have your buddies there to play. And if poker's not your thing, they've got all the casino games. They've got roulette, they've got craps, they've got blackjack. We've even got a Pai Gow table that's available for rent. And there's really no minimum. You can just have one table. You can have 2, 3, 4. We do house parties, big corporate parties. We can do it all. And it's very professional. We bring it to you, and you can give us a call, 512-945-2363 to get a quote, or you can check us out on Instagram, Double Down Casino Events, and our website is www.doubledowncasinoevents.com. And let them know we sent you. Let them know that the marketing is work.
It's always one industry I never really understood. Like, if you ask like a poker player, do you want to go play poker for free? They're like, that sounds fucking miserable. But like the regular person, they have such a good time and they enjoy it. And it's like, well, it's all poker, but it's like, at what point?
They're like playing for an Applebee's gift certificate.
Yeah. Like, and whatever works. Like, you have a market, go create a business around it. That's great. But like, at what point, you're playing poker. It's, 2 cards, no limit hold'em, the same thing. But like, if it's not for money, you're like, no, this isn't real. Like, I'm not gonna fucking like. Yeah. Zero enjoyment factor for you, like.
Yeah, well, I'm doing a game like that right now, like as the host, as the dealer of that. The lady is that I'm teaching to play poker, and the pace is slow because I'm like quizzing them on like what's the nuts on this board, how much is in the pot, like trying to get them to start like thinking about it, with some modicum of strategy. But like they'll be sitting there for forever while I'm like talking and I'm hand shuffling, and I'm not a professional dealer, so I think some of the ladies just get bored and they'll like call off at showdown with Jack High, and I'm just like, I'm bad at my job.
How did we get here?
I have failed you. I am so sorry. I have failed you.
What I will say at these casino parties, it has astounded me for as long as I've ever known about them, how much fun people can have. And it's like genuine fun on their face. But I'm sitting here going, okay, this is probably the type of person that would never play craps for real money. But they're sitting here rolling the dice, rolling for an hour without sevening out. And I'm like, if you had any fucking idea how much money you would have if you rolled like this for real money, and you're sitting here going, oh, I'm doing a good job. And it's like, sure.
They're on their 27th
Sure.
roll thinking this is normal.
If you were like just betting the minimum and forexing your odds and doing place bets and rolling them for an hour, you'd make like $15,000 playing at a $5 craps table. But they don't know that. They're just like learning the game and they think it's great. They're having a great time. And I mean, good for them. I can't do it.
Yeah, one of the first people I hired was in that industry as a dealer, and he would kind of host at like restaurants and bars, and there'd be sometimes 25, 35, maybe even like 40 people there playing poker. And so I would go with him, and we would kind of hustle Texas Card House, like, hey, do you like poker? Like, you're clearly like poker. And the ratio of what we got, from of those 40, maybe one. And they'd come and they'd lose their $100 and be like, whoa, I don't know
Holy
about
crap,
this.
I didn't know it was this big stakes.
So it's just like such a whiff, like for me. Like I thought, like, okay, we can go and like we'll get some customers here. We'll obviously try to get some customers from a home game. Like, where would we go find them? Absolutely bricked. I gave up on that. Like it's like completely like apples and oranges. Even though you're both playing poker, that like, the TFPL, like the free leagues, like. Nothing against them. They have their market. Go do your thing, but it just did not translate over into actual like poker for money. And I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, it's there's just a hard line in the sand there for people that I think it's just an outlet for people that are just, I don't want to say afraid, maybe that's not the right word, but they don't want to lose. So they can go, and if they don't want to lose, they can't expect to win. So if they don't win any money, they're like, oh cool, I started with a $500 chip and now I have $2,500. I'm awesome.
Turn it in for a stuffed animal at the end of the night.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Some people need comfort in the bed. Okay. One thing I really want to ask you about is where you think the future of Texas poker is going. I know we have all this stuff going on in Dallas, and it's sort of up in the air. What are the rumblings, you think?
If I stay in this industry, it'll be kind of for this reason. Like, the end game from where I started wasn't to own the most successful club in town. It was kind of...
That would have been a good goal, though.
Sure. Yeah. There's a time where I did, about 4 years that I did, and that was great. I wouldn't change a thing. But the end game is to get the industry licensed and regulated. Like, we were trying to do that before I opened any one of these clubs, and biggest hurdle, besides this is a conservative state, is that it was I was preaching something that already sounded illegal and was completely hypothetical. And so a lot of the advice that I got when I'm at that time 25 years old, 23, 4 and 5 years old, running around in the lobbyists trying to run gaming legislation, was go put some hair on your chest, kid. Like, sure, you got your dad's name and that's great, like that's going to get you these meetings that you should never get, but like, this is a hypothetical business. Like, what the fuck? And so, like, now I can go back and pick up where I left off.
Now.
Yeah. And, hypothetical business turned into, I mean, you're talking about tens of millions, probably $100 million industry right now. Card House properties alone, there's 4 of them. I mean, you've got, millions of dollars in just property assets, that are represented with these clubs. Houston is, 3-1 in size to Austin, and Dallas is up and coming. San Antonio, like, so now I plan on probably going back into the legislature. Unfortunately for these clubs, it's going to take the shit hitting the fan for them to understand that they need to coexist and probably partner up and do this, because what you're seeing in Dallas, even if things work out for the better and everything, they end up holding hands again, the city council and these card clubs. You're at the legislature's mercy. And so if they want to decide that these are illegal, like, they don't even have to do anything. Like, the way the law is currently written is whoever, if you're in the city, you're in the city district attorney. If you're in the county district attorney. That's all you got to talk to. It's completely their say on if this is legal or not. And One county can say yes, another county can say no. And the way it's written also is you're not innocent until proven guilty. If they want to come and serve you, your club has to close, and you can fight it for 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. And I have the people behind me that we were prepared to take on the fight because we'd win. But it's front page news when your club goes down, and 10 months later, it's back page news that you actually won. Your customers are gone, your trust is gone, you're fucked. So no matter what, even if you win the fight, the DA can fuck your business and clear you out. And so like that needs to change. Like it requires the legislator to change the law. I have run 4 different bills, all each session got farther than it did the last. Like this last one of the bills that I worked on, set a precedent, made it further than any gambling bills made it in our entire lifetime. And so but until that happens, these clubs are sitting ducks. Right now, sure, Austin district attorney is cool. Well, whatever, district attorney, they're up for re-election. You suddenly get a Bible Baptist conservative come into town, and his whole stance is he's going to clean up the card rooms. And so that's kind of the full circle for me. I didn't want to be a poker player. I didn't want to be a owner of a poker club for that long. Like I needed to do that to now take it back and sit as not a hypothetical, what if, we had these card rooms type of deal. But now I can go back to the legislature and say, okay, you're talking about 10,000 jobs. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxable revenue that the state's taking. And you got to license it and regulate it. Sure, they can put some rules on it. Maybe if you don't want them, 100 yards from a church or 100 yards from an elementary school, you don't want to have these, $10 million tournament guarantees with parking lots filled up. Like I get it. So let's let the state have some say in who gets to be involved and who doesn't. Maybe you don't want to have felony owners in this business, like for obvious reasons. Like y'all are trusting them. You probably have chips in your pocket through the lodge or TCH or whatever club. Like you're trusting that owner to hold your money. And from a club owner, like I know it's a fucking lot of money. Like, and so bless y'all's hearts. Like you try, like I got one point I'm representing TCH, just the Austin lockers alone, you're talking about 6 figures. And so it's like, it's an unregulated business, And so, yeah, you make sure you can't have felony ownership and all that stuff, but it has to get licensed and regulated. Or I think ultimately, you can't really have a sustainable business. Like it's too much investment at some point to, if you really wanted to open up 10 of these clubs, like, or if a major, company like a, casino interest wanted to come in and like open up a bunch of these clubs, you can't.
In your opinion, if Dallas goes the wrong way, I've talked about, I fear that being precedent for anyone that's like not even really against the card clubs. They're just indifferent. And then once they see that Dallas did it, do you think other cities or other attorney generals might follow suit and just be like, you know what? If it's illegal there, it should be illegal here too?
Yeah, Dallas definitely speaks volumes across the state. Austin, they'll let them. The state kind of says, okay, it's a little blue dot in the middle of a red state. Kind of keep Austin weird, whatever. You kind of can get away with some things here that wouldn't. If something happened here, it wouldn't set statewide precedents. But yeah, Dallas and Houston, San Antonio, they speak volumes. And I think the industry got really lucky in Houston when the raids happened. Fortunately, there was some seriously shady shit going on in the city side that made the city look even worse than what they were charging these clubs with. The clubs survived, but again, the way these laws are written, the clubs have no say. You're literally guilty until proven innocent. Like the TCH one in Dallas, for example, like the city pulls their occupants, their permit. They're not allowed to do business. They're only allowed to stay open through this appeals process. But the city controls the timeline of the appeals process. If they wanted to say, all right, your appeal is tomorrow afternoon at 4:59, from 4:59 to 5 o'clock, here you go. You get your 60-second speech at X, you're gone. For whatever reason that they're giving them this, 30 days, 60 days that they have been is kind of strange to me, but it's very curious to me because like I said, you're completely at their mercy. Like they can give you the opportunity to build an appeal and plead your case and bring your witnesses and bring in employees that have kids and families and say, look, I need this job support, all your good stuff. But there's going to be just as many people showing up. I worked against them. Like a lobby, lobby groups absolutely exist that will bring people in that will come and testify saying, my husband or wife lost all our grocery money. Like I'm eating ramen noodles with my kids all week because, this damn card house allowed, so-and-so to come lose, $10,000 playing some game. And there'll be people on both sides of it, but you're completely at the mercy of, the city council or, if you're not in the city, you're the county commissions. I mean, it's completely their discretion. And as comfortable as you can get, what happens when they get voted out of office, and they lose. Like, all your allies and friends that you thought you had in this, city council are now not there anymore. So it's just such a risky business as a whole for like that type of scale. And Card House probably has the most liability because, they have 4 clubs, but that's also very strategic in the legislature that they can, there's a lot of clout now. I mean, you've got clubs, you've got jobs in all these different districts, clubs, jobs down in the valley, jobs in San Antonio, jobs in Dallas. Like you're representing a lot of good. And so, yeah, that would be, super long story short to your question of what's next. That would be something that really interests me. I don't want to work for any one of these clubs, but let's go get all these clubs together and protect them, fully in that question of like, are these really legal? Because the answer is still, yes,
pretty
yes
much.
and no. Like,
what would it take to regulate there are over 60 clubs in Texas now. Do they need like a full-on gaming commission?
No, you'd never get that done in Texas. You could never create more government right now. That would be terrible. You'd have to put it underneath somebody's scope of service. I talked about putting it with the bingo lottery. The horse industry is dying in Texas. Like other states are juicing up their prize purses with slot machine money. And so, if you're raising horses, it's better for you to go race in Louisiana because first place is, an extra $100,000 than in Texas because of the slot machine money. And so you could get the horse there's different regulatory bodies that already exist that could take on this scope relatively simply, and without having to create, a new chapter of government in Texas. That you're not going to do that with under a Republican roof right now.
I wonder how that would affect sort of the streaming infrastructure, because I know like the Aria is one of the only places that has live stream poker. The Poker Ghost Studio at Aria is one of the only places you can live stream in Vegas. And I've heard different personalities and figures in Vegas poker talk about how closely watched there are. Like there's an armed guard inside of the door. Like ain't no Mike Postle shit happening in that studio. And that to create the integrity of the game, they really have a lot of oversight from that body.
What about, this is a total subject change, but what about tip chips? What has been the thought behind tip chips? You've seen different clubs take it different ways. You've seen some clubs at certain times say, fuck it with the tip chips, who cares? Just throw the dealer a 1. There were times where people were doing actual cash. There was a time where I was going to the bank and getting dollar coins, and that was like my version of a tip chip. And that was before you could tip the dealers. In the very beginning, it was like a fully paid. You paid your club access fees, and you weren't really allowed to tip the dealer until you were done. Like you could finish the game and cash out and go throw them $20 after a good session and say, hey, thanks. You did a great job today.
My opinion is ultimately the clubs just said, fuck it. And,
that's what it seemed like.
I'll be honest, I wasn't the first. I let other people do it first and watch them before, what happened to me. But I mean, there's no poker police out there. They're not out there. They don't come checking poker rooms. So you can get away with a lot. But the argument that my group was willing to make, when I say group, I mean a couple different lobbyists and attorneys, was, this is very slim. Take it for what it's worth. But the game of poker is just one hand. And so when the hand is over, you will be allowed to cash out and cash in, just as you can leave with your money and profit it. And if you went and got the money, you could hand that dealer money. It wasn't a part of the game. So like the hand is over, so therefore the game is over. At that point, you can do whatever you want with your money.
Makes sense.
It's a poker rule if you just like cashed out or went south that no, you can't pull chips and put them in your pocket, but it's not a law that says that. Like the law says nobody can profit off that hand of poker except for the winner of that hand. Okay, the hand is over. The chips are in your stack. You can do whatever the fuck you want with your money now. Like the next hand starts, you can't. The house can't take a cut. But like in between, like that was our, again, very slim argument. And it was like, that's why I prefaced it by saying it was pretty much just fuck it, like was the mentality. But the argument was that you can't profit off the hand of poker, but when the hand of poker is over, who cares? Do what you want with your money. Like,
well, and there were so many iterations of it. Like I said, there were dollar bills. Like, the manager of the room was walking around with a wad of $100 bills. Anybody need dollars? So you could tip the dealer, and then the dealer's, coloring up their dollar bills. When they're on push, they're going over and cashing out $21 bills and getting a $20 bill for it. And it's just this constant thing. And that's when I actually suggested tip chips for the first time. I said, why don't you just get chips that do that, kind of like I'm doing here with dollar coins, but it's just easier. They can buy the chips. And nothing was better for the dealers than when the whole tip chip thing, just like you said, when the clubs say, fuck it, just here, you win a pot, throw $1 to the dealer if you want. Like, that's fine. The dealers like doubled their income.
There were a handful of like legit pros and even some of the traveling vloggers that we brought in that at first were just like, what the fuck is a tip chip? But then afterwards they were like, no, this is actually really cool. Like, I know exactly what my poker winnings are now. Like versus, over the course of your 10-hour session, you probably don't know how much you tipped. But it's just like now they did. Like they bought $50 in tip chips, and at the end of their session, they had $20 in tip chips, and they had their poker chips. Like, a couple of I called that pretty nerdy poker people that are like, wow, you're really tracking all your fucking info. But I mean, they thought that was kind of cool. That they actually liked it. I think it was the cleanest, no doubt about it. Like there was no level of discomfort in my mind, or like, I'm the face of this company. Like I'm the one that's going to jail overnight. And so like the tip chips didn't bother me. I never lost sleep over that. Like I did when we, switched to the hourly, or like we did when we switched off the tip chips and just a full blown fuck it. Like, I say I didn't lose any sleep, but like, I'm the one that's going to jail for the night. Like, didn't want to do that.
Yeah, just the charade.
You sound like you've never spent a night in jail.
I've never spent a night in jail.
Oh, Sammy's so sweet and innocent.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the white fucking knight. So
it's a goddamn white knight you're talking to here. Bite your tongue.
Yeah.
Okay, I will.
Jail
I
time.
will. Sorry.
So
Should we move on to our top 5?
Let's do it. Can I call an audible? I really want to do this check
yeah.
thing. Okay.
Let's do it.
So something Bart Hansen talks about all the time is how there's like literally like 70 to 100 acceptable ways to check. When it is your option, you can check or bet. Like you can, do this, which is pretty understood. You can say the word check. Some people like to mouth the word check and claim they said it. Some people are in this constant poker, hand on the opposite shoulder, and they're in their poker stance and they'll just tap their shoulder, which is kind of hard for other players to see, especially if they're like on the other side of them. So I wanted to do a top 5 acceptable ways of check that have got to go. Like,
Okay.
They're bad. They suck.
All right. Lay it on us, Greg.
So, number 5, the head nod or okay. So that is the the player to your right has checked. Now it is your turn. And you're like, yeah, okay. Like, yeah, I accept his check and I check as well. And that's very ambiguous. So
Yeah.
I can see a bet going in behind him. Like, I didn't check. I didn't check. I was just nodding my head.
I mean, and that's the whole thing, right? The whole angle. Like maybe you're just like sort of doing this and then someone reads it as a check and you're like, and then when they check behind you, you're like, hold on a minute. Maybe I do want to bet.
Yeah, it's kind of scummy. So I think that one can go. That's number 5. The number 4 I call the twirly point. Try to do this without hitting the microphone, but same thing. Player to your right checks, and it's now on you, and you're just basically like opting to send the check down the line.
Waving
so
him on through.
The twirly bird finger, like, yeah, let him bet. I'm not betting. And same thing. It's just kind of like ambiguous. It's like this hand motion. It could get sloppy. You could just
Slightly
kinda
more
do this
clear,
or
but
whatever.
still a little
Yeah.
room for improvement.
You ever use those checks, or are you very consistent in your check?
Yeah, I like pound my middle finger deep into the table. That is the Caitlin check.
I notice when I'm dealing to you, you point directly at me with the middle finger. Is that like, are you trying to tell me something?
These are microaggressions. They are premeditated and they are spiteful.
I was one time accused as a dealer when I let somebody know that it was their turn. I kind of, went like, hey, it's your turn. And usually it's like a 2 finger or 3, whatever. But apparently
I prefer 3 fingers.
It was a little bit this. And I was accused of like, hey, were you just giving me the middle finger? I was like, I was telling you it's your fucking turn, man. Can you just go? It's 3 a.m. I've been here since 6.
I haven't peed in 7 days because no one else here knows how to deal the cards.
Yeah.
Please leave me alone.
Can you just fucking check? You know what? Open fold, please. For you, that'd be a good move. Number 3, I have the dainty finger. So you have
like the whisper of a movement.
Yeah,
just on
so
the
like you got your
pinky
cards
or
here and
just
you like literally just like
a little flutter.
Yeah, like anyone with like even early stage Parkinson's got way more move than that. Like, I mean, this is so gentle. And then you're the player to the left and you're like, did you fucking check? You haven't moved in 20 minutes. Like, what are you doing?
I do that one.
The little, you're the dainty finger check?
I think so, yeah.
How high off the cards do you get? Because I mean, I think if you come an inch, that's like official. But if you're like
is it
barely
daintier if I tell you that it's my ring finger typically? Like
your ring finger.
Like, this one.
I don't even know that I can do that easily. Like my middle finger wants to do it.
Yeah, can do that. Yeah, that would be me.
Boy, has it ever been like missed?
He's like, oh yeah, constantly.
How often are you told by the dealer it's your action? You go, no, I already checked.
Hey, when you pay the dealer, when you employ the dealer and the floor manager, you can get away with a lot of shit. So
okay, all right.
The white knight makes the rules. He doesn't follow them.
If you're not Sam, go fuck yourself with your dainty finger check. Okay, Sam's allowed.
Sam's okay.
Nobody else. Number 2 is the chip on chip check.
Oh, chip on chip violence.
Which the amount that poker players play with their chips, there's lots of chip clicking going back and forth. So the whole tap or 2 with a chip on your other stack of chips it's kind of ambiguous. I feel like that's one of the 75 that could go for sure.
Okay.
The last one, so obvious, is just the verbal it's like, what? Did you say? You could
Speak
say,
up, boy. You got something to say? Speak on up.
Well, and you could say other things that look and sound a lot like check. You could say bet. You could say raise, and someone could think like, oh, what did he just say? Yeah. So the whole and I mean, this goes for any table game. You can't say hit in blackjack. You have to give them the motion. Like there's a hand motion. That's what I wish poker would get back to. Is like, hey, you have to tap the table, even if it's your ring finger and it's dainty. You got to tap the table so it's very clear. It's clear for the cameras, it's clear for the dealers, and it's clear for the players that I want to hit, just like blackjack. I want to check in poker, and if you bet, of course, you're slinging chips out there. You're not tapping them together as your check.
When we had to wear the masks, that was really hard to deal with because you would hear a lot of like checks or bets, but they would be muffled. Like you're wearing a mask, so you didn't really hear people. That caused like some problems quite a bit.
Yeah. And then a lot of people like that played in Vegas and Phoenix had them too. The plexiglass and the mask was like just you couldn't hear anything anybody said. So someone verbalizes something. It's like then they're like climbing under the plexiglass, pulling their mask down. Like 75. I raised 75. Kind of just defeated the purpose of all this stuff we're doing here.
This is our fussiest top 5 we've ever done, Craig.
I mean,
these are the thoughts of a fussy man.
It's kind of a dealer gripe, and I always thought I was like a weirdo for being annoyed by it.
Oh no, you are.
But then when Bart said it, the first time I heard Bart said it, I was like, oh
well, that's
okay.
a fussy man too. I don't know that he's the one you need in your corner to make you look less fussy.
He raises a good point. I mean, it's just one of those things that maybe it hasn't caused some huge, conspiracy in a big hand yet, but it will. I mean, eventually it's going to happen. It's one of those things you can see that fire burning. You might as well just
we all
put it
know
out.
those players who have ambiguous checks, and you just like if you play with them with enough regularity, you make sure that their action is clear before you act.
Yeah.
I can think of certain old men who
Why do you hate old people, Caitlin? God damn.
Because they don't want to be with me. And they won't leave me their estate.
All right, so we solved the world's problems there.
Okay,
Sam is
thank God.
allowed the dainty ring finger check,
You're allowed.
but nobody else is, and the other 5 are definitely off limits. The other 4 are definitely off limits. So now, Caitlin's absolute favorite, except for when it lands on her and then she doesn't like it.
only
Sam,
if you
this
name
segment is
names,
called Harsh
facts, and
but
figures.
Fair.
Harsh but fair.
So you give feedback. Everybody gives everybody feedback that is harsh. I would say as harsh as you want, but apparently there are boundaries.
Of course.
Just don't name times, places, cities, timestamps, and we'll be fine.
Okay, so there are very, very vague boundaries, way, way out in the ether. But pretty much say whatever you want. It's got to be harsh, but it's got to be fair.
And you're
Fair
not allowed to
criticism.
make excuses for your feedback while receiving it. It's a call and response. You just say, thank you, harsh but fair.
Who wants to go first?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go for
I'll
it.
go first. My harsh but fair for you, Craig, is that you weren't feeling well today and you didn't complain enough. You pretty much just like sucked it up and you got the work done. I don't think you're going to get your needs met that way. I need you to be more forceful and assertive with complaining.
That's harsh, but fair. Not really that harsh, honestly. You really took it easy.
Yeah, I did the backwards compliment thing. I feel like I didn't feel like body shaming you or like going after your personality this week. I thought I'd give you a softball.
It's kind of like an 8 Mile. If you just lead with all the easy stuff, you really leave them with nothing to say.
I still do think you're too thin, though, if that makes you feel better.
Well, let me tell you, feeling sick in the morning and not eating all day, probably not going to help.
Oh my gosh, how am I going to do a harsh but fair to Sam? I love Sam. He's my bestie. Okay, I'm going to think of a good one. You better troll me too, okay?
Put me on the spot.
Well, you have a few more moments to think about it. Okay, Sam's harsh but fair. Your harsh but fair is that Palm's closed. End of discussion.
That's it.
You lost your job?
That's it.
Yeah, and now I have to like go out on my own and like I can't be under the umbrella of you. I have to figure out my own path and it's really inconvenient.
Yeah.
So sorry for you.
You say harsh but fair.
Yeah. Yeah, that must have been really rough on you, those 2 years of Palms. Yeah.
So sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a monster. All right, Craig, are you next?
My harsh but fair for Sam is along like a similar line, and it's like I just finished with this whole pile of work for Red Star, which is what Palms is now Red Star. I had to recover all of their tables, all their vinyl, all their wood. I couldn't feel my thumbs for like 2 weeks. Just upholstery upon upholstery upon upholstery, and I'd already built those Palms tables once, and they were still looking pretty good. There was a lot of life left in those.
Well, yeah, there wasn't a lot of usage on them, so it's amazing how they stay in great shape.
Oh, just mint condition.
Yeah.
And my harsh but fair for Caitlin is you just decided all willy-nilly, I'll go play the TCH stream tonight. It's no big deal. I don't need to arrange my own ride or anything. Craig will just bring me. He's got a car. He doesn't mind.
You volunteered. This is horseshit.
No. You are not allowed to rebut.
volunteered.
You are not allowed to rebut.
Okay.
He feels like shit. It's been feeling shit all day. It's going to be like 6 o'clock, like rush hour going from South Austin to Northwest Austin. He'll just do it. Don't worry about it, Mom. I don't need a ride. I'm good. I'll just exploit my friend. I don't care how bad he feels. He can spend an hour and a half in the car for all I
Harsh
give a
but
damn.
fair. But that is so unfair. I had secured a ride from my family and you said, call it off. I got you, girl.
Yeah, well,
and I said, are you sure you're not feeling well? That's why I didn't even ask. This is heresy.
the recorded version is different from your version. Just saying.
Okay, sounds fair. All right, Sammy, you ready to be mean to us?
I've had to do one of those before. I've had a couple of
A bank trip to Georgetown?
Well, no, just
He's like, no,
specifically
Caitlin,
rides
specifically.
with Caitlin. Yeah.
Oh,
like-
so you're familiar with the racket.
Yeah, I mean, it's the end of a business day. I had 30 customers come through the door. Caitlin's responsible for bringing 15 of them. I was like, fuck yeah, you asked me for a ride. Fuck, whatever you need. Like, of course. So yeah, you didn't need a car, and it worked out great.
Y'all are the ones enabling me. I'll get a car when y'all start saying no.
Oh, so it's our fault. Got it.
Those were like really harsh but fair. I need to buy a car. Thank you.
Wait, was that your harsh but fair, or can you cut deeper than that for Caitlin?
I mean, that could have been my harsh but fair, but no, I guess, I mean, the one I was thinking about would be this one. I was expecting some much heavier hitting questions. I mean, shit, you put me on the spot. You said you asked one guy, how much is his net worth? How much does he make? So yeah, I would say that y'all came at me with some softballs, but it's very, very nice.
We got the dual harsh but fair. We're both a couple softies.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Do you want to spill some tea now? What did I not make you uncomfortable with? I did like lambast you for palms just now. Is that not it?
Yeah, I beat you to the punch though. Like I kind of, I laid it out.
I got you good on the other night. And the other night I got a good one.
Probably.
Are we sharing or no? Am I just gonna have to?
No, I'll leave that one. I'll leave that one alone. But I got Sammy and a friend of ours good the other night. All right. Well, this has been the Texas Poker Experience with Caitlin Komeski. Thank you. And Craig's here. Just me. Fuck
Just
Craig.
Caitlin today. I took the day off apparently.
You did emotionally, and we could tell. So thank you for tuning into the Texas Poker Experience. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us find other people like you that are interested in Texas poker specifically. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Casts, please subscribe to the channel, leave a review, let people know that you're enjoying it and that here you are 9-10 episodes in and you're still putting up with our bullshit. We love that. Please give all the love to our sponsor, Double Down Casino Events. Hire them for your private events. Big thanks to the White Knight of Poker, Sam Von Kennel, for gracing us with his presence. We will have rose petals for him on the way out the door. I want y'all to know that. But we'll see you next week. And until then, remember to put the straddle on.
Don't be in it.